Hello guys, welcome back to another video where I'll be breaking down my exact sales framework from bottom to top that I've used in this past year to go from $0 all the way up to $40,000 every single month at 20 years old. The beauty in my framework, in my own opinion, is that I have invested a fuck ton of money into sales training, over $70,000. I've reinvest 30 to 40% of my income into myself every single month. So I've been able to not only time travel with knowledge of other coaches, but also absorb it, test it out on my own, and refine it to make it even better every single time. And make sure it's got no gaps in knowledge with no ego attached to it. A lot of sales coaches out there will have an ego that sells you on a certain USP and tells you that it's only that can get you to where you want to go. However, I've got no ego. I just want really good results, people. So what I'm committed to doing is making sure my process is flawless and egoless as well. So we'll get into the framework. I'll tell you exactly how it works, why it works, and explain each section step by step. And by the end of it, you'll have a high-level overview of what it's going to take to make $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a month, every single month in high-ticket sales. Let's jump in. Here we have it. As you can see, it's very, very structured, and it's going to be a bit of a knowledge dump on you all, but it's going to be worth it by the end because you'll know the exact principles that need to be in place on every single sales call to make sure you can close next to every single prospect that end up on your calendar. So we'll start with this big white box because this is actually part of the framework. So as I go into the framework, as I zoom in, it belittles the importance. So this big white box is the most important thing that is on the sales call. Okay, so this is the concept of being built off of the truth. If your call is built off of the truth, pretty much all of these other pillars will fall into place as long as you understand where you're going with things. Okay, so your number one principle, number one important thing on your call is what I will call finding the truth. That's the big white box. Okay, the next thing that's going to be important is this triangle. Some of you have seen this triangle before. Okay, it is my sales triangle, which I have created that allows you to understand that if these things are in place, there is pretty much no chance that your prospect won't buy. And if they're not in place, you do not pitch the prospect, which makes it impossible to pitch anyone that doesn't close. Because you should be able to understand what needs to be in alignment. And if it's not, we don't pitch until it is. Okay, so number one is the logic. Okay, their dream outcome equals our solution. If that is in place for you, if their dream outcome equals our solution, you will get the results you want. Okay, they will get the results they want as prospects, and the logic is in alignment. So what I mean by that is if someone wants to make 100K a month and your offer can only get them to 10K a month, there's no point because it doesn't add up. However, if they want to make 10K a month and your offer can get them to 10K a month, it adds up, the logic is solved. So this is more offer-based, pitch-based, client-based, market-based. Okay, the number two principle of the triangle is over here, and it is the emotion. Okay, their emotional gap equals the value of the program. So you need to build a big enough gap to where their emotional gap outweighs the price of the program. So that is built off current situation, future pace, and consequence. Current situation is where you're going to build the biggest part of the gap. Future pace will expand on that, and the consequence will expand on that. The bigger this gap is, the more likely they are to buy the program. If you have a $4,000 program and someone only has $3,000 worth of emotional gap, they will not buy the program. They will say things like, it is too expensive, this is too much money, I don't know if it's worth it. These things is a big sign that you have not built a big enough emotional gap. Okay? So if these two things are in place, that's a lot of the battle. The third thing that needs to be in place in terms of the triangle is up here, and it is the mindset. It's the mindset of the prospect. So what I mean by that is the mindset of the prospect fearful? If yes, solve the fear. Do their beliefs align with what they want in life? Are they taking ownership of the problem? So I'll teach you how to fear check in a moment, in a few minutes, but if their fears are eliminated, if they have no fear, they're certain in getting the outcome. If their beliefs are in alignment with who they need to be to get the outcome they desire, and if they're taking ownership of their situation, if they're in the cause side of things, not the effect side of things, that means their mindset is aligned. That means they're more than likely to buy at the end of the call. So if these three things are in place, I think you should understand and agree with me that it is impossible for them to not buy. If you want to make 30, 40K a month, you need to understand how to build a big enough emotional gap. You need to sell an offer that logically matches prospects to you that will get the outcome they desire. And you need to understand who the prospect needs to be in terms of their mindset, their beliefs, their fears, their ownership, and be able to realign them with that. If you're able to realign every single prospect with the mindset they need to have, if you're able to build a big enough gap and you're able to sell an offer that actually has a logical outcome, there's no chance in hell that the prospect will not buy at the end of the call. Okay? So you should not pitch anyone unless these three things are in place. So recap, the biggest principle in this call is the truth. When you get to the truth every single time, you need to understand the logic. You need to understand how to build an emotional gap. You need to understand the mindset the prospect needs to have and be able to see misalignment and realign. Okay? Those are the so far most important things in your sales process. When it comes to the actual sales process itself, that is the least important thing. However, it's very important because this is where you're going to be doing the realigning, building the gap, all these good things. So, number one is the pre-call state. Okay? Truth builds trust. You need crystal clear clarity on what is going on before I deserve to make the sale. I'm here to be a detective and find the truth of what's happening in this person's life. I'm here to help the person come to alignment with what they desire. I'm here to lead by example, which starts with my beliefs and behaviors first. And I'm here to serve in the prospect's best interest no matter what. This is the pre-call state you should be having in your mind before you get on the call. If you have this top of mind, if this is who you genuinely are, this will be half the battle for your call. If you stick with these principles on the call and stick to your process, detached from the outcome, you will make a lot more sales. Will you pitch everyone on your call? No. Will everyone make it to the end of the call? No. Will you close more deals? Will you help more people? Will you make more money? 110% yes. So first step to the process is your pre-call state. Second part of the process is the logic phase. Okay? Finding the outcome they desire and using it as an anchor. It consists of intent questions to get the intention of the person and why they're on the call. For example, what would be the intention behind you wanting to do X? Okay? Ideally, this is a tangible outcome. So for example, BizOp, you want a tangible amount of money. Let's say it's fitness, you want a tangible amount of goal weight. Let's say it's dating. Let's say they tangibly want to find a wife. These are the typical outcomes you're looking for when it comes to an anchor point. When you have the anchor point, the next step is to find the bottleneck. Okay? You want to use the mental model. Everyone has the exact same internal resources to get an outcome they desire. And now you need to find out why this person does not have the outcome they desire. How long have they wanted the goal? What have they done? You need to find the flaw, the behavior, belief, or attitude that's cost them the goal. Okay, everyone on these calls will have some sort of limiter, some sort of belief, some sort of behavior that's holding them back. It's usually found at the point of failure. Where are they failing? When we know where they are failing, we can find out why. We can find the bottleneck. For example, let's say someone always gets to 180 pounds and then they end up giving up, being consistent and gaining the weight back. We know that as their bottleneck. We know that they end up giving up at 180, they become inconsistent, they go back to self-sabotage. Self-sabotage is the bottleneck. Okay, this is key. This is key because it aligns directly with the extreme ownership part of our sales triangle. If we're able to find a bottleneck, we make them take ownership. We also have something to cling on to help them change. We also make them fully in control of the decision at the end of the call. If you give them control of the decision, they're going to be far more likely to pull the trigger at the end, which is what you want. You want them to change their life. Once you've found the bottleneck, though, the next step is to reframe the bottleneck. Okay, you've now identified the knot. Now we help to undo that with questions. Okay, the technique I teach in my group, one of the techniques of many, is a Dickens pattern, for example. So the goal here is to disprove their behavioral belief and help them to find a new, more empowering state that they can commit to. We will uncover the strategies, but this is one of the simplest we can use, Dickens pattern. So the way it's run is actually in my school group, full video breakdown. I'm not going to break it down here because it will take too long, but you can see on the screen, you can pause it, you can read it if you want, but to actually understand it, join the school group in the link in the description and you can see how I fully do it there for free. Okay. Next step is the current situation, right? So you want crystal clear clarity, you want their perspective, you want specific situations, you want loved ones' perspectives. They verbalize the canvas, they build imagery. We use visual, auditory, kinesthetic questions, how, who, what, when, where, why questions. So the things you learned in school when you was 2 years old. This kicks off from why now. The goal in this phase is to get as much clarity as possible in the prospect situation. What are the problems that the bottleneck is causing? Biggest reasons they aren't satisfied with things now, and then past X, Y, Z timeframes. Once again, this will take too long to break down high level, but I give it all away for free in my school group. Okay, this is the most important section of the call. Once you have this, plus you've got the bottleneck, you can make the sale. It will just help us a lot more when we come to future pace and consequence. They're not necessity. Of course, I do them every single time, but this builds the consequence in future pace. So if you can nail this section of the call, you can make a fuck ton of money and help change a lot of people's lives. The reason this section is so important is because it's the only thing that's real. In your call, future pace and consequence are not real. They're what ifs. Current situation is reality. It's genuinely the pain they face every single day. So if you can master this section of the call, make them feel the pain of their reality, they're going to be far more inclined to change. Human transformation comes from leverage. If you leverage pain and leverage emotion and help them see what's causing this pain and emotion, that leverage you build, i.e. current situation, i.e. deep pain, that leverage you build here incentivizes them to change the bottleneck they've got, change the belief and behavior they've got. Okay, so that breakdown once again in the free school group. Next step is ideal outcome. So in this phase, we're looking to get clarity on exactly what the prospect wants their life to look like. We build with them. We speak with certainty. We speak as if they're almost already there. We gauge other people's perspectives and we stack dominoes, then ask a big feeling question. So we flip up from the current situation points. So the points you got here, that was pain points, we actually flip them up and make them positives. And we make them big, beautiful, and bright. So we take the pain points and we flip them up into solving them and what life will look like when they solve them. That once again builds the emotional gap. Okay. The next thing that needs to be in place to make the money you want to make with high ticket sales is the inaction phase. Okay. In this phase, we're looking to get clarity on exactly what the prospect thinks their life will look like if they keep the bottleneck. We build with them. We allow them to sit in it. We gauge other people's perspectives and we get commitment and pushback. Okay. These people have been aware of consequences for a while, yet they continue to let themselves down. So what we're going to do is we're going to inaction them and push them back to justify why now is really the time to get rid of the bottleneck. Okay. Okay. This is a little breakdown on the gap. Okay. We need to be able to build the gap so they can imagine how great and how bad the prospect life look like. And we need to take them there. More clarity on each section equals a bigger gap. That's why you need very skillful questioning in this whole sales process to build a bigger gap, build the value piece at the bottom left, get the outcome you want. Okay. Current situation is the biggest part of the gap. We can then build off that ideal outcome and consequence. Bigger gap. Okay. Bigger gap, more value, more likely to spend money at the end of the call. More fearful of living in this reality than buying a program. This gap also is a leverage point to overcome fear, because if their gap is big and they realize that it's actually more scary to stay in the burning plane than jump out, they're going to jump out. So actually, this can eliminate fear as well, the bigger your gap is. Next step is, once you've got the ideal outcome, what are prospects fearful of? They're fearful of getting the outcome. So when you're speaking about the outcome, what you can do is fear check. If the prospect's language is not in alignment, i.e. uncertain, and it feels they don't believe, you can check for fear. So if they say something like this in future pace or ideal outcome, like, yeah, if I could get that, that'd be great. That doesn't sound too certain to me. Okay. So this means you can handle it now. You can ask them something like, do you believe you can handle that? Then we can handle fear at the top, which is another skill in itself, but you can handle their fear. That means you don't pitch them until they overcome their fears. Okay. It's important, as if they are fearful of the outcome, they will give you a fear objection at the end. So we might as well get it out of the way now. Okay. Next step is a pre-pitch flush. So certainty, check, recap. This stage is to say they're a good fit to achieve XYZ goal and avoid ABC, as well as we get to see if they actually want to share more. So we feel we can definitely get you to XYZ, but before we get to that, do you have anything we haven't spoke about you feel is relevant? That gives them opportunity to give us anything they haven't told us, i.e. I need to bring my partner on this call, i.e. I have this health issue, i.e. I only have $500 in my bank account. That way, before we even pitch them, we can solve all the problems. And the other advantage of this is the prospect feels heard. If they feel heard, they trust you more. What builds trust? The truth, the big white box. If we find the truth and understand that the truth is they've got stuff they want to share with us they haven't told us, they're going to trust us more. Pre-pitch flush. Then we pitch. If you follow this framework step by step and have these things in alignment, there is no chance you get objection. The only thing that could happen is you don't pitch someone because they're not a good fit. We're completely detached. We want the best thing for the prospect. We want the truth of the situation. We don't care about the money. But if you follow the process and these principles over money, you'll get more money in the end anyway. Okay? So as you can see, what we need is the truth, and the trust comes from the big white box. The logic comes from the pitch and the logic phase. If the logic phase lines up with the pitch, we continue. That bottom right rectangle is gone. That's ticked. Okay? Then the emotional gap. So the emotional gap equals value. That comes from this idea. If we build the big gap and they can imagine how great things can be and how bad things can be if they hold onto the bottleneck, that's a big gap. If we build the gap correctly, there's no way in hell they give us a value objection at the end. We get rid of that box in the bottom left. 2 out of 3 done. Then when it comes to ownership and beliefs and mindset, we unpack the beliefs and the ownership in the bottleneck phase. We understand their bottlenecks, their beliefs and behaviors that are holding them back. We make them take ownership of them so they can change them. So these 2 boxes are now ticked off. Then we fear check at the end of future pace. We handle fear before we pitch. So it literally becomes impossible that you don't make the sale at the end of the call, as long as they're aligned into this frame. No fear and future pace, tick. Beliefs and ownership is taken in the first 5 to 10 minutes of the call in the logic phase and the bottleneck phase, tick, tick. Emotional gap is built in deep pain, future pace, consequence, tick. Logic phase lines up with pitch, tick. Tick all those boxes, built off the truth, no way you don't make the sale. Okay, so that is the exact framework that I used and developed and built, learning from multiple mentors, understanding multiple different frameworks, and making it my own and making it pretty much indestructible. This is what I came up with. If you want to learn this, you can hop in the free school group below, top link in the description. As I've said multiple times in this video, I give away this whole framework for free. I break down each section for free so you can do it in high level detail. I genuinely believe that anyone who adopts this framework can sell anything, but more importantly, can help anyone transform their life. This is not a sales call process. This is a human transformation process. This follows principles of human transformation. If you follow them, you can help anyone leverage change to get the outcome they want. Okay, so top of the description, hop in. If you've enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video. Thank you. Bye-bye.